case you're wondering whether anyone's listening, the minute I started singing, my light went off, so somebody is listening. Let the doors be open. Que l'on ouvre les portes. Statements by members. Déclaration de députés. The honourable member for Whitby.
Today, Mr. Speaker, I want to address the real freedom fighters of this pandemic. I want to acknowledge the vast majority of Canadians who've graciously fulfilled their civic duty time and time again. I'm referring to those who've chosen to exercise their freedom in pursuit of the common good and continually protect the health and safety of others. It is you who have made sacrifices to help your family, community, and country in its time of need. You've lifted people up and demonstrated your unwavering compassion in the most challenging of circumstances. You've consistently prioritized the collective welfare of your fellow citizens rather than dwelling on what you've had to do or give up. We are forever grateful to you for doing your part, for trusting in science, and joining the almost 90% who've gotten vaccinated. Know that your countless number of selfless deeds over the past 2 years speak thousands of times louder than all the horns and voices of angry demonstrators. The immense contributions you've made to our pandemic response make up the convoy that will defeat COVID-19.
The honourable member for South Shore St. Margaret's.
It is with profound mix of both anger and sadness that I rise today to condemn the events that took place on Monday in my 2 riding offices and those of our colleague from West Nova. We received envelopes containing chemical irritants. One staff of mine unwittingly opened the envelope and had to be rushed to hospital, treated and decontaminated. Thankfully, he is fine and back at work. This act underscores a deeper challenge regarding the demise of civility and respect in our democratic discourse. On social media, through email, mail, and in person. We can debate, we can disagree, we can protest peacefully. Those things are the essence of democracy. Hateful acts of violence to servants of the people are not an attack on us individually, but an attack on democracy itself. An attack on one is an attack on all. My message is this: no member of this House will be intimidated. We will continue representing our communities, making Canada a better place for all.
The honourable member for Humber River Black Creek.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. February is Black History Month. It's a time to learn about the histories and cultures of Black Canadians and how they have contributed to Canada. It's also a time to celebrate legacies left and legacies in progress. My riding of Humber River Black Creek benefits greatly from the contributions of Black Canadians in the past and now. That is why I'm happy to stand today and recognize some key Black leaders from Humber River Black Creek. First, Mr. Winston LaRose, a leader so embedded in the community that he is referred to as Mr. Jane Finch. Devin Jones, who works with area youth at the Youth Association for Academics, Athletics and Character Education. We call it YACE for short. Adoma Patterson, president of the Jamaican Canadian Association. Pastor Francis at Youth Now on Track Services. Risa Antoine at the Jane and Finch Boys and Girls Club. Pastor Olu at Inner City Outreach, and Cheryl Prescott at the Black Creek Community Health Center, who has worked tirelessly to aid our community over the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, there are dozens more that I could name, but my time is limited. To all of the simply phenomenal Black leaders in my community and across the country, we say thank you very much. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Torres de Blainville. Mr. Speaker, Special Olympics Canada is a unique organization. It offers a complete athletic experience from the playground to the podium for people with intellectual disabilities. Special Olympics is 50,000 athletes and 23,000 volunteers. Recently, I had the pleasure of meeting Valerie, a medal-winning swimmer, who reiterated the importance of Special Olympics in her journey. Unfortunately, we learned that the additional federal funding for this organization is ending, and will not be renewed. But to be able to continue its essential mission and to rebuild, Special Olympics needs this additional funding. And that is why we're calling on the government to maintain the current additional funding in its 2022 budget. Congratulations to Special Olympics Canada for all their hard work. Thank you.
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Orleans.
Mr. Speaker, today I want to share with this House the work that Chef Joe, a resident of Orléans and well-known owner of Tally Ottawa Coconut Lagoon, has done through his leadership and philanthropic work during the pandemic. Chef Joe has really stepped up throughout this crisis. His dedication in helping to support the most vulnerable is commendable. With the stress of opening and having to carry a payroll, Chef Joe decided to continue with his advocacy and supporting the community of Ottawa. And just this week again, he donated 2 weeks' worth of meal to the Shepherds of Good Hope. And for Joe, his business has been and is significantly impacted by the convoy. Monday was supposed to be a good day for Joe and many restaurants and stores in the downtown corridor, but it is not. I want to salute Joe and all our business owners and residents in Ottawa. We hear you, we know you are there, and we will continue to advocate for you. Merci.
The Honourable Member for Miramichi Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, the pandemic has underscored the current state of healthcare in Canada. Our healthcare institutions are overwhelmed. Massive gaps have been detected. Shortfalls in the entire system is on the brink of collapse. Intensive care units are consistently filled with patients. Surgeries and procedures have been delayed, and staff are completely exhausted. On February 4th, Canada's premiers came together and called on the Prime Minister for help, requesting an unconditional $28 billion boost to healthcare transfers. Earlier this week in Finance Committee, we uncovered $70 billion in new spending, yet none of it for federal health care transfers. Some economists were suggesting any new money should be directed at health care federal transfers. We know two things about this Liberal government. They love to spend money, but refuse to listen to Canadians. Will they listen to Canada's premiers?
I just want to remind the honourable members in the House that while they're in the House and not speaking, please to make sure that they have their masks on. And if they're not listening, I'll speak louder so they can hear me. There we go. We're fine. The Honourable Member for York Centre.
Mr. Speaker, 2 years ago today, we were horrified to learn of the 4-year-old Kira Kagan's death at her father's hands. Despite her mother, Dr. Jennifer Kagan's pleas for Kira's safety and providing ample evidence of a history of coercive control and abuse, the court system failed her, and a bright little girl was lost. Dr. Kagan's cry for action as a mother resonated across Canada. For victims of domestic abuse and coercive control, their struggles to protect themselves and their children is a real and terrifying challenge played out in mediations and family courts across the country. On Monday, I joined my colleagues from Dorval, Lachine, LaSalle, and Oakville, North Burlington in tabling Bill C-233 to ensure training and education of judges on the warning signs and dangers of domestic violence and coercive control. I want to thank the many families who joined Dr. Kagan, not only in her pain, but in her courageous advocacy to protect our most vulnerable. Jennifer, we hear you. We hold you in your pain and will work to protect others from this harm and abuse. Kira's light shines bright and her memory is forever a blessing.
The Honourable Member for Labrador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I invite my colleagues to join me in sending our condolences to the family of the late Edward Moxon Roberts. Edward was an historian, a political leader, a lawyer, and an author. He was a powerful influencer and political statesman in Newfoundland and Labrador and Canada. For 5 decades, he committed himself to outstanding advocacy, research, and legislative policies that changed and shaped communities and led the way for future opportunities. He had tremendous respect for those who served in political life, a loyal and dedicated servant himself, serving as a member of the House of Assembly, a minister of the Crown, the 11th Lieutenant Governor of Newfoundland and Labrador, and a trusted advisor to many provincial premiers. In 2009, he was recognized with the Order of Canada. I, along with my colleague from St. John's South Mount Pearl, will remember him as a loyal friend. So, Mr. Speaker, we acknowledge his dedication, how it benefited the people of his time and the generations that follow. Thank you, and thank my colleagues.
Well, member for York Simcoe.
Mr. Speaker, it's time to get York Simcoe moving. After decades, the Bradford Bypass is finally being built, ensuring that residents can get from Highway 400 to the 404 faster and safer than ever. This connecting link will ease gridlock and traffic congestion, bring economic benefit, and ensure that our growing region is ready for the future as new immigrants move into the area. The bypass has support of more than 85% of residents, including the farmers in the Holland Marsh, the soup and salad bowl of Canada, Mr. Speaker, who need safer access to their fields and a better way to ship their produce. The bypass is being built to reduce emissions, combat climate change with minimal impact on the environment and to the Lake Simcoe watershed. Downtown activists are trying to stop the bypass from being built, Mr. Speaker, but they don't know how needed the highway is. York Simcoe is glad the Ontario government is moving ahead with the bypass. Let's get it built.
The honourable member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, as politicians, we all appreciate those who help us. Today, I'd like to recognize 3 of those individuals who played important roles on my team but are no longer with us. Gunraj Gill came to me in 2014 as a campaign volunteer, still a teenager. When asked what role he wanted to play, he responded, campaign manager. After my election, he came with me to Ottawa and loved the Hill. He tragically passed away in July 2019 at the age of 23. Lynn Whitehouse worked with the Greater Langley Chamber of Commerce for more than 30 years. Lynn was a fierce advocate for good public policy that supported small businesses in our community. After Lynn's retirement, she joined my constituency team. Lynn lost her battle to cancer this past Christmas. Charity Amuzu-May was a volunteer in my campaigns in 2015 and 2019. She played a key role with my constituency religious leaders roundtables and my youth council. Charity lost her battle to cancer this January. Thank you for allowing me this moment to recognize these 3 individuals, all of whom I miss daily.
The honourable member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, Blue Quills University near St. Paul in Lakeland was a residential school in the 1930s. Now, for 50 years, it's been Canada's first Indigenous-controlled education centre, promotes pride in Indigenous heritage and reclaims traditional knowledge and practices. Blue Quills is owned and governed by Beaver Lake, Cold Lake, Frog Lake, Whitefish Lake, Heart Lake, Kahiwan, and Saddle Lake First Nations. The First Nations Caring Society is promoting Have a Heart Day. Blue Quills is encouraging students to send Valentine's Day cards to the Prime Minister, and my office will help deliver them. Their message is, Happy Valentine's Day. Please have a heart. First Nations children should not have to fight for services all other Canadians enjoy. Give First Nations children the same chance to grow up safely at home, get a good education, be healthy, and proud of their cultures. I agree with them. Beyond empathy and words, the Prime Minister must take real action to improve the well-being, the opportunities, and the futures for Indigenous children, just like for all Canadian kids.
The honourable member for Chilliwack, Hope.
We now know that before the last election, the Prime Minister made a very purposeful political decision to divide Canadians based on their vaccine status, deliberately tearing at the fabric that unites Canadians in order to hold on to his own privileges and power. The Prime Minister continues to purposely stoke anger and division, hoping that Canadians will turn on each other rather than his incompetent government that continues to fail at every aspect of COVID response. To those who felt the sting of this discrimination from your own government, we acknowledge your suffering, trauma, and loss. We hear you, we see you, and we will continue to speak up for you. It's time to change course. It's time for Canadians to reject the politics of fear and division. It's time to heal the divisions that have been intentionally sown. It's time to unite Canadians, give them back their freedoms, and end the discriminatory vaccine mandates once and for all.
The honourable member for Madawaska-Restigouche. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, is the annual Canadian School Counselling Week, and I would like to take a moment to recognize the important contributions of the school counselling profession, which is growing in Canada.
Counseling profession supports the personal, social, academic, and career development and the mental health and well-being of all students in Canada in order to provide them with the opportunity to achieve school and plan for a career.
These professionals play an instrumental role in a student's career when they face challenges. Counselors listen to students and encourage them to express their emotions and experiences.
In helping students, in working in partnership with parents and with teachers, in focusing on positive ways to enhance the students' development. Thank you to those counselors for being there for our students. Nous vous remercions.
Thank you for listening to our young people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Last week, Amnesty International released a report titled Israel's Apartheid Against Palestinians, Cruel System of Domination and Crimes Against Humanity. The report, 4 years in the making, contains a number of recommendations to the government of Israel, the United Nations, and states and donors like Canada. The findings in this report are extremely serious. Both Palestinians and Israelis have the right to live in security and safety. This report has made it clear that Palestinians are experiencing neither. Canada must be a stronger advocate to ensure Israel is respecting international law and human rights. Canada can take concrete steps, including suspending arms sales to Israel and banning products from the illegal settlements until the end of the illegal occupation. I ask all my colleagues in the House to read this report. This is a conversation we must have. As parliamentarians, we have the obligation to make ourselves aware of human rights abuses and hold ourselves and our friends to account.
The honourable member for Beauport-Limoilou. Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize Teachers Week. Being a teacher is about taking children from where they are and to bringing them to a bit better place in their learning, not just when they're in the classroom. You can take the teacher out of the school, but not the school out of the teacher, I can tell you that. If you have a teacher friend and you want to go on a trip with them, make sure they do that outside of their planning period, outside of their learning, and above all, avoid the correction period. How many books does a teacher need? Always just one more. Always just one more. They can never walk past a bookstore without coming out with at least one book. Need a pencil? Ask a teacher. They always have one on hand and in supply. See a teacher buying school supplies? It's for their classroom. In short, teachers think about their children 12 months a year, and they are dedicated to their profession and deserve our respect. Thank you to all our teachers. Thank you.
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
The Canadian people have suffered an overwhelming amount of trauma in the last 2 years. This is due to forced isolation, countless pandemic restrictions, and moving goalposts. Countries like the UK, Denmark, and Switzerland are returning to normal life, and yet the Prime Minister of Canada won't give a signal of doing the same. It's leaving people confused, frustrated, and hopeless. Domestic violence has increased dramatically. Mental health concerns are through the roof. The use of opioids has skyrocketed. Life-saving medical treatments have been withheld. Cancers have gone undiagnosed, and people have lost their jobs because of a personal medical choice. I am calling on this government to provide compassionate leadership and abandon the harmful lockdown measures and hateful rhetoric that so often accompanies them. We need to come together as a nation and heal. We need to restore dignity, honor, and respect. The bulk of the responsibility rests on the Prime Minister's shoulders. Starting today, I'm calling on him to lead with compassion. I'm calling on him to end the vaccine mandates once and for all.
The honourable member for Oakville North Burlington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Kira Kagan was going to change the world. I wish I had met Kira. She was a bright and beautiful 4-year-old whose life was stolen by an angry father who killed himself and Kira 2 years ago today. Kira should be playing with her brother and making her mom Jennifer and stepdad Philip laugh and smile. Instead, Jennifer has had to become an advocate for changes to the court system to educate judges on domestic violence and coercive control. I can't begin to imagine the heartbreak that Jennifer faces every day. But I can support her advocacy work to ensure that no other child is killed because our judicial system doesn't recognize that domestic violence and coercive control are real and must be taken into account. I can continue to work with Jennifer to see Kira's Law, which is part of the member for Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle's Private Members Bill C-233, become a reality in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Even countries with lower vaccination rates than Canada. Provinces are beginning to lift restrictions and getting life back to normal. Why? Because they're following the science. Canadians are ready to get their life back. But it seems like the Prime Minister wants to live in a permanent pandemic. Dr. Ham, Dr. Tam, Dr. Henry, Dr. Moore, Dr. Hinshaw, Dr. Shahab all agree it's time to shift out of the restrictions and back to normal life. So why is the Prime Minister so offside, not only with the science, but it would seem like with a growing number of his own MPs?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, we intend to follow the science and are working closely with Dr. Tam and other public health officials to ensure that we get through this pandemic as best we possibly can. And that has been through vaccinations. The fact that 9 out of 10 Canadians have gotten vaccinated is one of the reasons why we're able to get through this, is why we've been able to prevent our health systems from being completely overrun. Vaccinations are the thing through this. That's why we're continuing to encourage Canadians to get vaccinated. Why, unfortunately, the Conservatives are against vaccination is, quite frankly, beyond me.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, the science and the evidence is just simply not on the Prime Minister's side. Many of the reasons previously used to keep Canadians under restrictions are vanishing before our eyes. Other countries are opening up. Provinces are opening up. As he just said, 90% of Canadians have the vaccine. The Prime Minister needs to put his ego aside. He needs to do what's right for the country. He needs to end the mandates. He needs to end the restrictions. He needs to listen to his own caucus. Will he do that?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Canadians have made it through this pandemic better than many other places because Canadians stepped up. They were there for each other. Their government had their backs. We worked closely with provincial and territorial leaders. Every step of the way, we kept focusing on vaccinations, on public health supports, on business supports. It's allowed us through, and Canadians are continuing to get vaccinated. 60,000 Canadians got vaccinated with their first dose just last week. We are continuing to make sure Canadians get vaccinated because this is how we get through this pandemic.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we know this Prime Minister has politicized the pandemic. This summer, as BC was burning, Afghanistan was falling, and we were in the fourth wave of a pandemic, the Prime Minister called an unnecessary $600 million election to capitalize on this crisis. According to a senior Liberal MP, a decision was made to wedge, to divide, and to stigmatize. So, a country more divided than ever before. Can the Prime Minister tell Canadians why he would politicize the pandemic, why he would try to stigmatize Canadians, why would he do this to a country that is already suffering and deeply damaged by so many of his policies? Why?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
About last year's election. It was an opportunity for Canadians to weigh in on the path forward for our country, on how to continue to fight this pandemic. And what we saw, unfortunately, from the Conservative Party of Canada was a refusal to step up on vaccination, a refusal to follow science. As they were talking about how we get through this pandemic, they couldn't ensure their own MPs got vaccinated. Mr. Speaker, Canadians spoke loudly and clearly in the last election that science and vaccination was the way through. They gave us in this House a mandate to move forward on that, and we did.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister is clearly trying to strategically and very selfishly divide and stigmatize Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we live in a beautiful country, but our country is suffering. Our country is divided. Our country is tired, and they need leadership. So again, I'm going to ask the Prime Minister. His senior Liberal MP said that there is a strategic decision made on that side to stigmatize, and these are not my words, stigmatize, divide, and wedge. This is what the Prime Minister did. Why?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what Canadians have needed through this pandemic and what this government has provided has been responsible leadership that put the health and safety of Canadians first and foremost. That's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we talked about in the last election campaign. That's exactly what we're going to continue to do in following the science. But you talk about, the member opposite talks about Canadians suffering. Supply chains disrupted, Canadians in their homes worried of walking their streets because they continue to support blockades that are hurting businesses across the country. Will the Conservative leader stand up and condemn those blockades?
L'honorable député de Mégantic-L'Érable.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday I asked a simple question. The member for Louis Hébert and former leader of the Quebec caucus expressed his malaise with the government's handling of the pandemic. He said that during the last election, a positive and unifying approach was not supported. They chose a stigmatizing and divisive approach. Is it the Prime Minister who made the decision to divide and stigmatize for his own gain? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker. During the last election, we were there to unite Canadians around vaccine mandates. And we saw Canadians vote in favour of a government that was going to put science first and reject the Conservative Party that couldn't even get its own members vaccinated. During a difficult time, with barricades on our borders and in the city of Ottawa, the Conservative Party does not even dare to condemn these blockades and the impact on citizens throughout the country who are losing their jobs, who we're having trouble accessing food. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Thank you. We have to come back to leadership issues during the crisis. The criticism coming from the media is severe, and the internal issues of the Liberal Party are compromising the government's ability to act. Do they recognize that they need to communicate better, maybe with a little bit less pride, and perhaps to change the tone without changing the fundamental objective? Do they recognize that raising the siege is urgent and it needs to be done before this weekend? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I recognize, and we have recognized this for over a week, that this siege is unacceptable. The impact on small businesses, on manufacturers, on the supply chain are ongoing, whether it be barricades at the borders or siege in Ottawa. We have to do everything we can together at every level of government to end it. What would really help is for the Conservative Party to tell its supporters to stop blocking our economy and go home. The member for Belleuil-Chambly. He's not a political commentator, he's the Prime Minister. International press is making fun of Canada. The only leadership in Canada is to multiply the fronts. Congratulations. Canada's back. It's Canada's image that's being compromised. Unfortunately, so is Quebec's, both the province and its government. What will the Prime Minister need to do to start acting? When is he going to do something? When is he going to act? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Quand il y a eu, il y a quelques jours, des manifestations.
When there were protests in Quebec, the provincial government and the municipal government managed the situation exceptionally well.
However, we were there to offer support if necessary. However, they did not need it. In other locations, the situation was handled well. There are challenges here in Ottawa, and we are here to support local authorities to do the work with the provinces to make sure that we resume order and calm here. We're calling for an end to the barricades and to stop encouraging the supporters of this blockade who are blocking Canada and the economy. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have truckers that are stuck at the border in the Coutts border crossing in Alberta. We have truckers stuck at the Ambassador Bridge crossing in Windsor. We have an occupation in Ottawa that has hit the citizens and residents and small businesses extremely difficultly. And we know that a significant portion of funding of this convoy is from foreign U.S. dollars. So will the Prime Minister do everything possible to stop this convoy and these protests by contacting U.S. officials and investigating where these funds are coming from and working with them to stop it?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we're working very hard with partners at different levels of government to make sure that we're ensuring that the flow of funds to criminal activities is interdicted. We're going to continue to do that while all the same time ensuring that there is a right for free and open legal protests. That is extremely important in this country. I will highlight, however, the irony that the member opposite brought up, which is indeed a harsh one, that when this convoy originally was all about truckers protesting, now it's truckers being protested, being prevented from doing their jobs of putting food on our tables and supporting our manufacturers.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
We have truckers on the border at Coutts, on the border in Windsor, who are blocked. And there's a siege, an occupation in Ottawa. The impact of the convoy has resonated throughout the country, and it's clear that they are funded, at least in part, by foreign money. Will the Prime Minister contact his counterparts in the United States to stop the flow of funds? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have worked with our partners, including international partners, to make sure that we are monitoring funds going to organizations and businesses and activities that are criminal in nature, and we will continue to do so. It's interesting to think about the fact that the convoy and the blockades, which were supposed to be by truckers, are now actually negatively impacting truckers in their work to deliver groceries to the store, to deliver merchandise and products to our manufacturers. Truckers are now victims of this.
Cumberland Colchester.
Mr. Speaker, last year an all-party parliamentary committee urged the Prime Minister to promise he wouldn't call an election. In fact, at that time, the Prime Minister himself said he had no interest in calling an election during the pandemic. Canadians were misled. Instead of prioritizing the health and safety of Canadians, he forced an election. This begs the question, why did the Prime Minister jeopardize the health of Canadians to save his own job?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in that election, Canada had an extremely important conversation about how to move forward through this pandemic. And partially because of the clear answers...
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt the Right Honourable Prime Minister. The Honourable Member for Cumberland Colchester asked a question, and I'm sure he can't hear the answer with all the shouting going on around him. So I'm just going to ask everyone to tone down so that the Honourable Member for Cumberland Colchester can hear the answer. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in the last election, Canadians were presented with a very clear choice of moving forward with strong vaccination policies that would ensure Canadians were safe, or the Conservative proposal to not really step up on vaccination, not even ensure that all of their members were vaccinated as MPs, and not the kind of leadership on science they wanted. Canadians made a very clear choice to choose and vote for parties that supported supported vaccine mandates, and that's exactly what has gotten us through this pandemic to this point, with lower death rates than other countries around the world, despite all the tragedies we have faced.
Honourable member for Cumberland Colchester.
Mr. Speaker, sadly what we ended up with is seeds of division having been sowed and Canadians suffering. We've suffered financially, socially, morally, mentally, and physically. And according to the Misery Index, we are a very miserable nation.
Shame.
For almost 2 years now, Canadians have borne the yoke of loss, uncertainty, and lack of hope. The backs of Canadians are about to break.
Indeed.
Canadians are miserable because of the Prime Minister. We want to know on what date the mandates will end.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again we see the Conservatives are willing to twist the facts to their own partisan ends. The reality is vaccine mandates and the fact that Canadians stepped up to get vaccinated to almost 90% ensured that this pandemic didn't hit as hard here in Canada as elsewhere around the world. We stayed focused on following the science, on promoting public health rules, and Canadians stepped up in their communities. They stepped up for their frontline health workers. They stepped up for each other, and Canada has never been so strong and together as we are now.
L'honorable député de Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles.
Monsieur le Président, en novembre dernier.
Mr. Speaker, last November, the Prime Minister said the top priority remains to ensure the safety of Canadians and follow the science. Today, we understand that he didn't base his statement on science. At least 2 of his members have indicated that the Prime Minister's response has been politicized to divide Canadians. More than a dozen developed countries have begun to remove health restrictions, but this Prime Minister wants to control the public. Can the Prime Minister tell this House when he will remove federal COVID-19 restrictions? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
From
the beginning of the pandemic, all Canadians have wanted to know when it was going to end and when we could go back to what we were doing before. And at every step, we've had to adjust measures. We've had to put forward proposals and programs to help Canadians based on what was happening at the time. With lowering rates of Omicron infection, we will be able to change things happening throughout the country, but we will always be guided by science, by data, and protecting Canadians at every step, as we have done from the very beginning. The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, what we found out yesterday is that under the guise of fighting the pandemic, the Prime Minister has deliberately played with Canadians' mental health, manipulated the public to get votes in the last election, minimized the activities of parliamentarians to prevent them from scrutinizing his cabinet's decisions, and stigmatized any Canadian who had opinions that weren't like his. His strategy was to divide Canadians. Will the Prime Minister finally admit that he used the pandemic for electoral purposes to save his job? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, at every step, we have put the health and safety of Canadians above all. That's what we did by following the science. The reality is that the Conservative Party continues to play political games by supporting blockades, by giving support to those who are obstructing our supply chain and blocking the City of Ottawa. They continue to support this illegal protest. When will they finally show leadership themselves and be responsible?
Kawartha Lakes Brook.
Mr. Speaker, 2 Liberal MPs have said that the Prime Minister purposely politicized the pandemic. That means for crass political gain, in order to save his own job, the Prime Minister deliberately divided Canadians. We have federal mandates still in effect, stifling industries like travel and tourism, while countries around the world with the same information are finding ways to live with this virus. Speaker, on what date this month will all federal mandates be lifted?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, policy in this country is set by a government that listens to science, that follows data, that doesn't listen to people blockading our streets and blockading our borders. That is not the way to make public policy in this country. It's not the way to bring Canadians together. We're going to stay focused on keeping people alive and safe and healthy and indeed prosperous. But the fact that the Conservative Party continues to refuse to condemn the blockades that are hurting our supply chains, driving up prices, limiting our manufacturers from being able to bring in their parts across the country is a shame on them.
The honourable member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes Rock.
Speaker, Saskatchewan and Alberta have announced an end to restrictions. Canada's chief public health advisories calling for normalcy. 2 Liberal MPs have called out their own for divisiveness. Canadians have done everything asked of them for the last 2 years. And while many other countries are offering a plan of hope, the Liberals continue to stifle industries like travel and tourism for little benefit. It seems the Prime Minister has got a little too comfortable with using the force of government rather than trusting Canadians. So, Speaker, on what day this month will all travel advisories be lifted?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the member opposite talks about stifling industries. The reality is the support of the Conservative Party of Canada for people barricading our streets and our border crossings is harming businesses, is harming Canadians who are putting food on the table, is driving up prices, is causing uncertainty, instability, and frustration on top of people who have suffered too much because of this pandemic over the past 2 years. It is time for the Conservative Party to show responsible leadership, to condemn these blockades, and all of us to move forward together.
L'honorable député de Jonquière.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal member for Louis Hébert has finally understood that the Prime Minister's position on health transfers is untenable. The Prime Minister must increase health funding over the long term. It is essential if we are to deal with the surgery backlog, hire nurses and increase the number of beds so that we never again have to lock down the entire population to protect the health system. 85% of citizens demand that the Prime Minister increase health transfers to cover 35% of costs. Will the Prime Minister listen to them? It's their money in his hands, not his. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, from the beginning of the pandemic, we have been there to increase health transfers, to increase investments in health. Besides the $43 billion that we've transfer every year to provinces and territories for their health systems, $63 billion was added during the pandemic to bolster health systems. We will continue to be there in the medium and long term with increases to ensure that Canadians are safe. The federal government will be there for them as it has been for the last 2 years. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Being there, we can't take it anymore. The Prime Minister is alone in his stubborn refusal to increase his share of health spending to 35%. Even the member for Louis Hébert has criticized him. Just like all the parties in the National Assembly, all the governments of Quebec, the provinces and the territories, 85% of Canadians, 86% of Quebecers. Mr. Speaker, when you're all alone being in the right, it's often because you're too stubborn to realize that you're wrong. Instead of being obstinate with everyone else, when will the Prime Minister finally do his fair share when it comes to health? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I don't know what else I can say for the member on the other side to accept a yes as an answer. Yes, we will be there to continue to increase health transfers because yes, we have been there with $63 billion additional dollars for the health care system. We will continue to be there. We know how much we need to work together to deliver better health care systems to the public. The federal government has been there with $8 out of $10 for support payments during the pandemic, and we will continue to do so.
Mr. Speaker, there are people across this country asking this Prime Minister for clarity, leadership, and hope. People are so frustrated with this Prime Minister that there's protests nationwide. Canadians are just asking for respect and to be listened to. With the continued uncertainty in brazen disregard for legitimate concerns around the state of our country, I asked the Prime Minister the simple question: can he share with us what evidence he has to justify implementing an interprovincial trucking mandate?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, you can't end a pandemic with blockades. You can't end a pandemic by decreeing it. You can't even end it by legislation. You need to end it with science. You need to end it with public health measures. You need to end it.
I just want to point out that when the honourable member for Regina Leuven asked his question, it was dead silence. I believe he deserves the same respect when he's getting his answer. The Right Honourable Prime Minister, please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, you cannot stop a pandemic with blockades. You cannot end a pandemic by decree. You can't end a pandemic by legislation. You need to end a pandemic by relying on science, by public health measures, and by vaccinations. That's exactly what we have focused on through these past 2 years. And even as Canadians are tired and impatient for it to end, we are going to continue to be there for them, to support them through it, and to make sure we do everything necessary to end this pandemic.
The honourable member for Regina Leuven.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister just demonstrated why Canadians are so frustrated. He doesn't listen. I asked him to show me some evidence in science around interprovincial trucking mandates, and he totally ignored that question. So my question to him would be, maybe a redo, because he maybe will get it right the second time. How high do grocery prices have to go? How empty do grocery stores have to be for him not to implement an interprovincial trucking vaccine mandate?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, the member opposite is criticized something that we haven't even done. So there's already that issue there. But secondly, he talks about empty grocery store shelves. He talks about disruptions to supply chains. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, right now, people in Windsor are suffering and losing their jobs because they can't get auto parts across the Ambassador Bridge. People in Alberta are seeing shelves empty because they can't get deliveries across the Coutts border crossing. And this Conservative Party that supports these blockades won't even stand up and say, enough is enough, it's time to go home.
The honourable member for Grand Prairie Mackenzie.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ireland, Sweden, Norway, Israel, Czech Republic, the UK, Spain, and Denmark are all removing restrictions, including vaccine mandates, even though they have a lower vaccine rate than we do here in Canada. Saskatchewan and Alberta provincial governments have also announced plans to remove their restrictions. When will the Prime Minister follow our international allies, follow the science, follow the expert advice, follow the premiers, and give Canadians a plan as to when he will remove the federal travel restrictions here in Canada?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, throughout the pandemic, different jurisdictions have handled things differently every step of the way, whether it's jurisdictions across the country that we've been there to support, or different countries that have had much worse outcomes in some cases, many more restrictions in other cases. The reality is we will continue to do what is right for Canadians to keep people safe as we get through this pandemic. And yes, I understand how frustrated Canadians are, how much we need to see an end to this pandemic, but we can't do it by decree. We can only do it by continuing to trust science and getting people vaccinated.
The honourable member for Grand Prairie Mackenzie.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that's the problem. There he goes again, refusing to answer the question. It seems he'd rather wedge, divide, and stigmatize fellow Canadians. The problem is that Canadians are better than that. They're sick and tired of his divisive games. They have done their part, and they deserve to know when Canada will follow our international allies and end our restrictions. On what date will the restrictions end?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, Canadians have done their part. They've continued to step up and get vaccinated to a higher percentage, mind you, than the Conservative caucus has. They've continued to follow public health advice. They've continued to be there for each other, to lean on each other. And now we see the Conservative Party continuing to egg on its supporters to shut down border crossings, to encourage its supporters to blockade downtown Ottawa because they're upset they lost an election. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to focus on supporting Canadians, on keeping people safe, and on vaccination.
The honourable member for Burnaby South.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians have done their part. They've gotten vaccinated. They've followed public health measures. And now they want a plan that'll get us past this pandemic. That plan is going to, of course, mean we've got to work with our public health officials. And it also means we have to make sure that our healthcare system is never pushed to the brink of collapse again. So will the Prime Minister put forward a plan that will chart the course for us to get past this pandemic that includes properly funding our healthcare system so it's there for our loved ones when they need it most?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we know that our healthcare systems have been stressed during these past 2 years, and that's why, as a federal government, we have continually stepped up. Every year, the federal government sends about $42–43 billion to the provinces for supporting their healthcare systems. Over the past 2 years, on top of those regular transfers, we have invested about $63 billion in healthcare, whether everything from vaccines to transfers to provinces to other measures to keep Canadians safe. And yes, we will be there to increase healthcare transfers to ensure that we have a stronger medical system into the future.
The honourable member for Burnaby South.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians have gotten vaccinated. They've followed public health measures. And now they want a plan to get us through the pandemic. This will mean working with public health experts, but it also means making sure that our healthcare system is never again pushed to the brink, as has happened several times during this pandemic. Will the PM commit to investing in our healthcare system to ensure that it is there for people when they need it? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we will be there to invest further in our healthcare system. Over the last 2 years, we have invested $63 billion additional dollars in our healthcare system and healthcare measures to ensure that Canadians could get through this pandemic. We are in discussions with the provinces, and we will continue to collaborate with them because we know that it will take further investments to get the best results from our healthcare system and to make it more resilient. We will be there as partners for the provinces and territories.
Saga Moulton.
Mr. Speaker, whether it be $10 a day for childcare or historic investments in affordable housing, our government is committed to making life more affordable for Canadian families. We know that traditionally speaking, Canadians have paid some of the highest cell phone bills in the world. Could the Prime Minister please update this House on actions being taken to make cell phone plans more affordable?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to begin by thanking the member for Mississauga-Malton for his important question. We promised Canadian families that we would reduce the cost of their cell phone bills. Today, I'm happy to announce that we have met our 25% price reduction target. In fact, we've done so 3 months ahead of schedule. This is wonderful news, but we know that there is still more work to be done. We will continue to push to improve cell coverage and to make life more affordable for all Canadians.
The honourable member for Calgary-Midnapore.
The Finance Minister continues to try to convince Canadians that all is well with the economy. But what she doesn't seem to understand is that the majority of Canadians just don't see it that way. What they do see is that their family can't afford the same groceries that they used to, and that they will try and squeak in just one more trip back and forth to pick up the kids from school before having to buy another tank of gas. Canadians are facing a cost of living crisis. When will the Finance Minister take this inflation crisis seriously and provide solutions?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
You know what's driving up the cost of living this week? The cost of groceries, the cost of parts for manufacturers? The blockades that the Conservative Party continues to support at the Coutts border crossing, at the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor, and even in downtown Ottawa. Canadians have struggled for 2 years because of this pandemic in so many different ways and have stepped up and made sacrifices, and we've been there to have their backs. Why, right now, does the Conservative Party not have Canadians' backs and instead choose to support those who are blockading their neighbours and our economy?
The Honourable Member for New Brunswick Southwest.
Mr. Speaker, it's been 6 years and these Liberals have failed to make life better for Canadians. They've delivered the largest cost and price increases we've seen in Canada in 30 years. Plus, Ottawa's anti-Canadian energy policies have only added to the pain in the Canadian economy. The rising price of energy sets the prices for virtually everything else in the Canadian economy. Why is the Prime Minister making victims of seniors, working families, and small businesses?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, small businesses in downtown Ottawa are struggling for the past 2 weeks because Conservatives are supporting the people who are blockading them. Businesses in Windsor are suffering because goods can't get across the Ambassador Bridge because Conservative Party supporters are being encouraged to continue their blockades. In Alberta, groceries are getting more expensive because the Coutts border crossing is blocked and the Conservative Party will not condemn or ask those protesters to go home.
Député de Lévis-Lotbinière.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, in Quebec, gas is now costing over $1.60 per litre. That's unprecedented. This inflation will have repercussions on everything that is transported in Canada. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister seems to not know what is going on. What will the Prime Minister do to help low-income families? Given this increase in the prices of everything that people eat and use in their everyday lives. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the global inflation crisis is due to COVID-19. Disruptions in our supply chains are due to COVID-19. And also partially due to the barricades supported by the Conservatives. We will continue to fight COVID-19 with vaccination, with public health measures to ensure that soon Canadians can get back to what they enjoy the most. Being together, being with their loved ones, that is what we are working hard to reach.
Kootenay, Columbia.
Mr. Speaker, gasoline is up 34%, housing is up almost 27%, sugar is up 20%, and Canadian bacon is up 17%. Inflation has increased 2 times faster than the wages of those working in my riding of Kootenay, Columbia. Families in Canada are being stretched too far. When will the Prime Minister get off his MacBook at his cottage and fix skyrocketing home prices, supply chain shortages, and the cost of living crisis?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize that we are in a global inflation crisis right now because of COVID-19, and the best way to get through that is to end this COVID-19 pandemic. Unfortunately, you can't end it with legislation. You can't end it with barricades. You need to end it with science, and that means vaccination. So if the Conservative Party is truly concerned about our supply chains, about the cost of living for Canadians, they should tell their supporters in Coutts and in Windsor to stand down those barricades and let the goods flow to Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Mr. Speaker, for 8 months, the Prime Minister has been cutting seniors' GIS, people who received the CERB legitimately. These are low-income seniors who are working part-time to pay for rent, groceries, or medication. After several months, the Prime Minister realized that this was unacceptable, and he will compensate them. But the compensation will only arrive in May, and he will be continuing to cut benefits every month until June. after 8 months of sacrifice for these seniors. Does the Prime Minister agree that they deserve better than to continue struggling financially until the end of spring? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the pandemic has been very difficult for seniors, and our government has been there to help them. We did so through a one-time payment for seniors whose benefits were affected by pandemic supports. And today, we have brought forward Bill C-12 to exclude pandemic benefits from GIS calculations. We are asking all parties, including the Bloc Québécois, to support us and to get this bill adopted quickly, to ensure that there is no further reduction in the GIS for low-income seniors. Our government will continue to be there for seniors. The Honourable Member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Mr. Speaker, among the seniors who have fallen victim to these cuts, there are people who can't get enough to eat, who are selling their possessions, who are even losing their homes. These people can't wait until the end of spring for the federal apparatus to get started. The Prime Minister showed with CERB that he is able to send out checks quickly when he wants to. The Prime Minister was able to send CERB to millions of people within 10 days after the application. If he could do that, he's clearly able to compensate low-income seniors before the end of spring. What is preventing him from taking action? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have been there for Canadians for 2 years with unprecedented supports for all Canadians, including seniors. We helped them with additional funds during this pandemic because we know that it was very hard on them. And indeed, thanks to that money, or rather, because of that money, some seniors are in danger of losing the benefits they need this year. And that is why we sent out a one-time payment quickly, and that is why yesterday we tabled a bill to ensure that we fix this challenge once and for all. And we hope that all other parties that support seniors will support us with this bill.
2 weeks ago, the Ethics Committee unanimously, including all Liberal committee members, agreed that a tender be postponed to stop the Liberals from secretly collecting the mobility data of Canadians until MPs could be sure that the privacy rights of Canadians were not being violated. But yesterday, in an unbelievable move, the entire Liberal caucus, including the same members who voted for it, voted against stopping the RFP. What a disgrace. Why would the Prime Minister vote against the committee's recommendations to make sure that the privacy of Canadians were protected?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the Conservative Party, we believe data, science, and evidence need to inform our response to COVID-19. It is crucial to inform policy and decision-making. The Public Health Agency of Canada has used de-identified data without personal identifiers to inform the government's response to the pandemic. We've also publicly provided the data to Canadians to keep them informed. We remain focused on Canadians' health and safety and continuing to uphold the privacy standards they rightfully expect.
Member for Barrie Innisfil.
Why was this vote so important yesterday, Mr. Speaker? It's because the Liberals, with their no vote, have signaled that they'll continue collecting this data without the consent of Canadians. And when you start connecting the dots, a pattern has developed by these Liberals using the distraction of a pandemic as an opportunity for massive expansion and overreach to abuse the rights and freedoms of Canadians, including their privacy rights. Would the Prime Minister at least provide a coherent reason why he thinks putting a pause on this tender was a bad idea until we can ensure that the Canadians' privacy protection rights were protected?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are fighting a global pandemic right now, and every step of the way we have been informed by science and data to do that. Yes, we've been protecting Canadians' privacy rights, which are always important, but we will use the tools we have to keep Canadians safe and defend their rights and values. Unfortunately, we do see the pattern of the Conservative Party that tried to scrap the long-form census, that is constantly against data and evidence, pushing back against science and data. We will be informed by the facts and by science in what we do.
The honourable member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday at Public Safety Committee, I asked Toronto's Deputy Chief of Police if the Liberals' plan to spend $1 billion taxpayer dollars on a firearms buyback would have any effect on improving public safety. His answer, which has been echoed by law enforcement across this country, is that gun buybacks don't work. My question to the Prime Minister, why is he ignoring law enforcement experts? Why won't he scrap this ineffective, wasteful, and ideological scheme?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Crystal clear right now. The Conservative Party of Canada is asking us to bring back, to re-legalize assault weapons. That was something that was debated during the election campaign that they are trying hard to forget. We banned...
I want to remind... Order. I want to remind the honourable members to watch their language. Okay, I'm going to have to ask the honourable... I'm going to have to ask the honourable member to stand and apologize or withdraw.
Mr. Speaker, I will say...
I'm not asking for a long diatribe. I'm asking for an apology.
I won't give you one. I apologize for saying that he lied, but in 1977, the term...
No, it's over. That's it. No, please sit down. Apologize. That's all we need. The Right Honourable Prime Minister, please continue, and let's give the honourable member for Sturgeon River Parkland the opportunity to hear his answer. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, last year we banned 1,500 different models of assault-style weapons in this country. The Conservative government, the Conservative Party, is proposing to reverse that ban. They don't think it'll keep Canadians safe. Well, we had an election including on that, Mr. Speaker, and they were soundly rejected in that argument. Canadians want to see their communities safer. That's why we are for strengthening gun control, and they, unfortunately and inexplicably, are for weakening it.
The honourable member for Malpeque.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The interruption of trade resulting from a localized outbreak of potato wart has significantly impacted the economy of PEI and many of my constituents. From small multi-generational family farms to large producers, packers, processors, and shippers, nearly every islander has been affected by this issue. I know our government has been working diligently on this file, and yesterday was a huge step forward. Can the Prime Minister update the House on how the government is progressing toward resumption of exports of the best darn potatoes in the world?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague from Malpeque for his question, his hard work, and his continued advocacy for islanders. Restoring market access for PEI fresh potatoes to the U.S. and supporting PEI farmers continues to be a top priority for our government. Thanks to the work of two of our colleagues who went to Washington and their science-based approach, the export of table stock potatoes to Puerto Rico can now resume. Wow. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to defend our farmers and to push for a science-based approach until potato exports are completely restored.
L'honorable député de Mégantic.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, August 13th, the Prime Minister announced vaccine mandates federally. August 15th, he triggered useless elections. February 8th, the cat is out of the bag. Despite what he's been claiming, a member from his own Liberal caucus has unveiled and announced a decision taken by his own party to knowingly approach a divisive and stigmatizing approach for electioneering purposes. As Isabelle Latraverse stated eloquently, the Prime Minister may say that he follows science, but we all know that that is relative. Why has the Prime Minister turned his back on Canadians? When did he make this decision to stigmatize and divide in order to be able to preserve his reign? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, in the last election, we presented a clear vision to Canadians of how to get through the pandemic. That included vaccine mandates for those who wanted to take a train or a plane or in the federal public service. Canadians were able to speak out on these issues during the election. and a large majority voted for members from parties that support vaccine mandates. That's a reality, Mr. Speaker. And it's crucial for this country to be able to move forward with a clear mandate to ensure that we end this pandemic through vaccination, and that's exactly what we've done. The honourable member, the member for Louis Hébert was much more clear. According to him, we need clear leadership to end the pandemic. We cannot do that by dividing and stigmatizing the population and by hiding and refusing to take responsibility. Ultimately, it was a member of his own caucus, the president of the Quebec Liberal Caucus. It took that member denouncing him for him to come out of hiding. Will the Prime Minister admit his mistake, apologize to Canadians, and work with leaders of parties to end these protests and this division? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this government's choices during this pandemic to follow science, to support small businesses, workers, seniors, to encourage vaccinations for everyone, to bring in mandates for travelers and the federal public service, these are all things that have saved lives and have enabled us to get through this pandemic much better than many other countries. And Canadians have been there for each other throughout, and they will continue to do so. I would encourage the Conservatives to be there for Canadians and to ask for an end to these barricades.
Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. Conservatives want the protests and the barricades to end. We want people to be able to head back to work and go home knowing that they have been listened to and that they've been respected. The Prime Minister holds the key. I've asked the Prime Minister, I've sent him a letter, I've asked him if he would be willing to meet with other leaders, with myself, so that we could work constructively to end this impasse. Will he meet with us? Can we work together to find a solution? Thank you.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the interim leader of the Conservative Party knows well that we spoke right after her election as leader to be able to work together to end this pandemic and to end these barricades and this blockage. Unfortunately, we see Conservative members continuing to encourage and support the blockades that are going on in downtown Ottawa, at the Coutts border crossing, at the Windsor Bridge. When are Conservatives going to stand up for ordinary Canadians putting food on their shelves and their jobs? When are they going to stand up, condemn these barricades?
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle. Mr. Speaker, this week is International Development Week. I would like to thank the workers, partners, and volunteers in the international development sector who are working hard to help people in many different countries. This year, I would like to draw attention to the women and girls who are facing unique challenges which have been exacerbated by COVID. Can the Prime Minister tell us what Canada is doing to support women and girls abroad? Thank you. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle for the question and for her hard work. She is entirely right. And that is why we have transformed Canada's method of working abroad in order to be leaders in the global effort. Thanks to our international feminist assistance policy, we are working closely with international partners in order to reduce poverty and inequality, and in order to confront the unique challenges that face women and girls. Mr. Speaker, we will continue with our efforts in this regard.
Burnaby South.
The Ambassador Bridge crossing in Windsor is one of the busiest in all of Canada, and it's vital to the people of Windsor and the surrounding region. Windsor and the surrounding region rely heavily on travel back and forth between the border. Residents, small businesses, manufacturing sectors all require it. Right now, because of the convoy protests, truckers are being blocked, and it's severely impacting Windsor and the surrounding region. What is the Prime Minister doing to end that shutdown and open up the border for the truckers to get back home and deliver the goods to Windsor and the surrounding region?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Ambassador Bridge is critical for trade, and this blockade poses significant risks to our supply chains. Illegally blocked trade routes means empty shelves, higher prices, and layoffs in the trucking, manufacturing, and retail sectors. It is ironic, Mr. Speaker, that a protest and a blockade that was ostensibly by truckers is now blockading truckers themselves. Mr. Speaker, Canadians have the right to peaceful protest, but they don't have the right to illegally block our roads or harass residents. So I want to once again thank the 90% of truckers who've been vaccinated and working hard every day to keep our economy moving.
Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like, through you, to extend to the Prime Minister my thoughts and hopes that he and his children are recovering well. My question is that this week marks 2 years since we had any financial update from the Trans Mountain Corporation, one that we lamentably own after incredibly foolishly buying the climate-killing Trans Mountain Pipeline. It now appears to be 5 times above its original cost estimate. Will the Prime Minister agree that we need a full, transparent review of the alleged costs and benefits before a single additional penny is wasted on this project?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that we need to make sure we are decarbonizing our economy and reaching net zero by 2050. But in the coming years, we're going to continue to rely on oil and gas as we move forward in our economies. That's why making sure we get the best possible price for our oil sources so we can invest in the transformation of our economy is important. That's why the Trans Mountain Pipeline, which allows us to get product to countries other than the United States, is important for our economy, but it is also a way to make sure we're investing in the transformation towards a greener economy.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have for question period today. C'est tout le temps que nous avons aujourd'hui.
That's all the time we have today.
At 3:20 p.m., pursuant to order made on Thursday, November 25th, 2021, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion of Mr. Steinley relating to the business of supply. Call in the members. Convoquez les députés. Can I have order? I just want to compliment our technical team. The last couple of days, you can tell there was a little bit of choppiness. They found what the problem was, wanted to make sure everything was secure. I just want to compliment them on the work they did. So this is for our techies in the background, making sure that everything runs smoothly.